y'all, welcome back to Pancakes and Pandemonium. So if you're new here, I'm Sarah. I'm a mom of 5 and I do all kinds of videos, and I come on here every so often and give you guys life updates and health updates. And I actually have a ton of content planned I'm going to be putting up, but I wanted to start our week. I have only been doing one video the last couple weeks, and we're going to fix that. I've had several doctor's appointments and stuff going on, and kid stuff. We'd had 2 little kiddos staying with us, and just, it's not my story to tell, but we had 2 little kiddos staying with us, and we were happy that, you know, we could help in that situation. And so they were here for a few weeks. We got them moved back home and situated, and of course, you know, getting my kids situated, making sure they feel, you know, balanced and they transition well. Because it's complicated, you know, it's easy to look at your own kids and be like, oh, you're not smack dab in the middle of a struggle or a transition, so you're fine. And that's just not always the case, right? They are in the middle of a transition. Their lives have been uprooted too. And so you've got to create this, like, as best of a synergy as you can for everybody, right? So it's been a crazy few weeks. And then the last couple weeks, as we were getting these kids moved back home, it was a little bit of a process, you know, keeping that complete and then having doctor's appointments. So I told you guys I would keep you guys updated on kind of everything that's going on with me. Weight loss is going well. I've lost about 13 pounds. I had some conversations with the dietitian and the clinician over the weight loss clinic that I saw. And not that it was in conversation, but as I was going through my eating and my eating habits, it was unanimously, like, I guess, finally agreed. I mean, you know, they can't make you take medicine, but here we are, that Ozempic was not the right choice of a medication for me. The reason being is they actually believe I have gastroparesis, and they don't believe that Ozempic caused it. I don't either. It is actually believed that I have had it since the beginning of my gastric bypass. When I was relaying symptoms and issues I've had with different foods from the very beginning, right? Since 2005. That's how we came to that conclusion. But since Ozempic slows your digestion down so dramatically, if my digestion is already really slow and I'm already having trouble digesting food, you know, a medicine that slows it down even more can actually stop it completely. So that's kind of what happened with my illness and just kind of some of the lingering effects of it. So my digestion. So I have a lot of trouble with animal proteins. We're working on solving that. I am working on it through energy balancing as well as, you know, diet. And really the conclusion isn't that I'm sensitive to animal protein. It's that I can't digest. And so where a lot of you can eat a chicken breast, I have a lot of trouble with that. I'm going to do better with ground chicken, ground turkey, ground beef. And so I'm going to be figuring out how to work that into our budget and our hauls. And I'm going to have to get better at meal prepping. So I've got things at my fingertips. Of course, protein shakes. I like Premier Protein. I like Fairlife. I really like the Core Power. And then I'm really liking Ratio Protein Yogurt. It has 25 grams of protein. So I'm getting a lot of that nutrition source at the beginning of my day. And it's taking discipline and some, you know, things like that. I have to be really careful with fiber, actually. It's just one of those things because, right, fiber moves slowly, but of course you have to have fiber. So we're doing that. And so, like I said, this is what's believed based on symptoms and issues that I told the dietitian and the practitioner. The next step is I'm going to see a gastroenterologist, and we're going to work towards a diagnosis, right? And if it's not that great, what is it? what are we dealing with? And of course, I tend to prefer more holistic options. And I've been that way really since 2011 is when I really started making a shift. And then we kind of got off track with it for a few years. And my personal experience has been, I got sicker getting off of that route, right? And when I say holistic, that isn't me saying that there is not a place for Western medicine. There is. You know, when we get sick, Emily was just on antibiotics, right? When I am talking about healing versus managing, right? And, you know, diet and healthy options and stuff. I think there's a strong place for both. And when we're talking about managing long-term ailments or illnesses, mostly I'd rather take a more holistic path, if that makes sense. That being said, you know, there's a time and a place for intervention. So I don't want anyone to misconstrue my words. I'm sure some people will anyway, because that's just how it goes, right? But I prefer a more holistic approach. And so, I mean, Ozempic was kind of a, you should really try this. And I was like, oh, I'm feeling really desperate. And I didn't kind of center and put focus on it. I went with it sounds good. It was a rough couple of weeks, but I'm glad we learned early on without like permanent damage. Like, this is not a great option. But so the biggest things we're going to be working on is protein. I want to do what I eat in a day. You guys tell me what you think. In my mind, I feel like it's got to be perfect and it's got to be planned out. And I have a couple kind of thought process happening here. One, I hesitate with what I eat in a day because I can eat so little at a time. And even like when I eat successfully 5 or 6 meals a day, they are very small. And I don't want anybody watching this feeling like, okay, well, that's working for her, or, you know, feeling like you should do that. Because it's a really unique situation. I can also clarify, like, this is very unique to my body. Most people would double or triple this amount, you know, so there's that. And the other kind of train of thought that I find myself running into is like, I have to have it down pat to do it. So do you want to see imperfect what I eat in a day, right? Do you want to see what I eat in a day when I'm on track? And do you want to see what I eat in a day when, you know, we're out and we're busy and, you know, I stop at Wendy's and get Starbucks or, you know, that kind of stuff. Because in my mind, I'm like, I'm so not perfect at this and I'm so learning and figuring it out. And so that keeps me from recording for you guys. I get really in my head about it. And so maybe that's just me, but you guys tell me what you want to see as well. How does that sound? Because it's definitely a journey. I'm going to keep you updated like this one way or another. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And you guys know we're a family on a budget. And so, you know, working that in as a mom, it's getting past the mindset of like, I can't spend this money on just me. Well, that's hard. And I've spent a lot of time sacrificing things that I needed in my diet because I couldn't spend it on just me. And sometimes we really couldn't, by the way. But other times it's just that I can't. But here's the truth. If I am not spending that money on just me, then I'm not functioning fully to take care of my family. And so I've got to find room in the budget. I've got to find room in the way I grocery shop to make sure I include that. And maybe it's just going to look a little different. And I'm going to let you guys know how I'm doing that. Maybe it looks exactly the same, right? Shopping deals and stocking up and having it available. Maybe it's a hybrid of a couple different processes, right? So I'm learning. It's really interesting. I don't tend to get discouraged with diagnoses. I tend to be encouraged with answers. I like explanations. I like it when the dots align and we have answers, you know? and then things that make sense. With this gastroparesis and this pending diagnosis, it has been a really hard struggle. Obviously, I gained a lot of weight in 2018, which yes, weight loss is part of it. Weight gain, especially when you have unhealthy coping mechanisms, which is kind of what happened, and leaning towards food that I could eat and eat comfortably, and it's between gastric bypass and the gastroparesis, it's easy to absorb things and not making good choices. I have dealt with extreme weight loss. And like I said, it started at the beginning of my gastric bypass, and I started losing weight. And one, I had gone from significantly obese. I was close to 500 pounds when I had my gastric bypass. I was 487 to be exact. When I started losing weight drastically and people couldn't visualize, what was happening. And when I was out or visiting people and I would eat something, even a healthy choice, and then I would get sick, and then people would hear me in the bathroom or see me running to the bathroom. And people's mind go crazy. And unfortunately, sometimes people lean into drama, right? Instead of being like, are you okay? Which honestly, my answer was, yeah, I'm okay. Because a lot of, this thing would irritate my stomach and I would get sick and it would be immediately relieved. So my answer is, yeah, I'm okay. So I've been accused of having eating disorders, which is really frustrating because I know a lot of people really deal with disordered eating, and maybe to some degree, some of the impact and some of the long-term effects for me is somewhat disordered eating. We're trying to get to the bottom of that, like coping versus an eating disorder. There's something in the middle there, and I definitely need to learn and relearn some good skills. As far as like an intense eating disorder, no, I've never dealt with that. And there's no shame if you have, because we all have our things, and that's really, really hard. But when, people are talking about you and accusing you and spreading rumors and telling people like not to compliment your weight loss because it's creating more of an issue, it's really hard. And so, I've dealt with that over the years, on top of just all kinds of other stress and issues. So, I see my spiritual healer, I do see a therapist, and we're kind of rehashing some of those and those trust issues and boundaries, right? So that as I get healthy, and things look different and people don't like my portions, and because that happens in private circles too, not just on the internet, right? People don't like my portion sizes. People don't like things that I'm not eating because they make me sick, but it makes them uncomfortable because they're eating it, right? And just learning how to properly put those boundaries in place and firmly be like, no, I'm good. And also have confidence in the decisions that I'm making. I actually struggle with a lot of confidence in those, right? Especially having been in cycles of negative feedback in my life. We deal with confidence issues. So I've been working on that for about the last year and a half anyway, and then we'll kind of double down and just learning how to not let other people's opinions impact me, especially when I know that I'm doing something I need to be doing for myself and I'm confident in my ability to feed myself and take care of myself. So yeah, all kinds of interesting things going on over here. Kids are doing great. Kids are doing great in school. I'll go ahead and give you a quick Alex and Ryan update. Ryan he is in Bridges and he is working super, super hard. He actually came home today. He's got a little bit of a stomach bug. He felt fine leaving, and then got to their classroom situation and was getting ready for work and got sick to his stomach. And I'm always really grateful for their fast acting. He called and texted me, and I was like, okay, let me call my husband. And they said, you know what? We can bring him home. So their van driver brought him home. So amazing. So it sucks he doesn't feel well today, but overall he's doing really, really good. I'm super proud of him. Alex, guys, is thriving. So he is in an alternative classroom situation because of COVID and some of the changes we went through in 2020 2020 and 2021, he was behind just shy of 4 credits, 3.75. And I was part of this decision. No decisions were made for me. I worked with a parent advocate. We decided at the start of this year to try the alternative high school. That's not a choice for everybody, but he didn't qualify for Bridges, the program that Ryan's in. Ryan has a lower IQ, and so his functionality within autism is seen different as Alex, who has a pretty high IQ actually. It's just shy of 120, right? So we have, the same diagnosis and 2 brains that work very, very differently, as do all of ours, truthfully, right? So Alex needed different skills. So what made this alternative high school appealing was that much smaller classroom sizes, much, much smaller. Everybody has their issues, whether it's learning issues. Yes, some have had legal issues, but that comes from trauma and or learning issues and the way they've reacted in their situation, right? So he's been embraced and he feels comfortable where he's at, which is super important, and he is thriving. So another super interesting thing about this program is while yes, they have to follow his IEP, they do individualized learning for all kids, right? So Alex isn't the weird kid who needs an individualized learning plan and, has all these special accommodations for him when everybody else is doing it like this. They do that per kid because it's already recognized these kids struggled in a traditional learning environment. So not only do all of these kids get the help and the attention that they need, right? Most kids respond really well to their learning plan being customized to them. Arguably, public schools will never do that and will never get on board with that because they have too many kids, but they should, right? How much better and how many more kids could we reach if we individualized their learning to some degree, right? So it doesn't just work really well for Alex, it works really well for a lot of kids. And I've toured that school and I've been there a couple of times now, and it has an energy and a magic that I have never felt inside a public school, especially a public middle school or high school. That's my opinion. And watching my kid thrive in that atmosphere after 3 years of struggling in high school just brings so much joy to my heart that I can't even find the words for it. He is working ahead. As a matter of fact, we got a phone call last Friday. Alex will be done and graduated after the next mini term, which is just a few weeks. He'll be done in November before Thanksgiving. The original plan was that, when they first presented it to us, when we went in, they said we can have him done by Thanksgiving break. We added a study skills class which would stretch out his time. And I felt really strongly. There was conversations about not having a study skills class, and I was like, no, he doesn't do well with homework. He needs the opportunity to work inside the school walls in his school day. And ultimately Mom knows best, and everyone quickly got on board with that and agreed. So they said, okay, that's going to stretch him out a little bit more time. So he should be done by the time we break for Christmas break. Nope. This study skills class, first of all, he's thriving inside classes, so he doesn't need the study skills class, it turns out, to do extra work. So he's been doing packets and working ahead. He's going to be done after the next mini term. He'll be done before Thanksgiving, you guys. And I might cry. We are now talking about college or trade school. So that's amazing. y'all know I'm a crier. So just, my heart is just exploding with gratitude right now. And I really felt like this was the right choice. Sorry, my eyes are burning. I really felt like this was the right choice. I wouldn't have made it. And I had my hesitations when it was brought up in conversations. Like, we did a deep dive because I was like, you're not sending my kid to an alternative high school. And then I meditated on it. I prayed on it. I researched it. And it didn't take long. It really quickly became clear it was a good choice. And then I felt it really strongly. So that was so, so good. And then the other three are doing great. Everyone's doing great in school. Everyone's doing great in classes. They're still in their homeschool program. And they're just thriving in the Harmony Education homeschool program. Mason and Emma are in the Harmony Education homeschool program. Gracie is in Lumen. I've had a couple hiccups with Lumen, but they're a fairly new school. They opened in 2020. So I try to have some grace. I can be a bit of a mama bear. And so we've had to iron out some kinks, but they're a new school. There's going to be these anyway, right? And things are going to arise that they haven't dealt with yet because they're a new school and a new system. But the overall program, we're thrilled with. Gracie's taking classes and electives that she loves. She's back to making A's and B's, which is always great to see. She's a hard worker. She's a super smart young lady. And to see her in an environment where she can thrive and be her best self and be a good student and make friends is really amazing. And then Mason and Em are thriving in Harmony. Emily has the teacher Mason had last year. So it's always fun when you start seeing those repeats. And Mason's 5th grade teacher she's just a joy. I love conversations with her. I love meeting with her, and Mason is doing really well in her class. And because they're in 5th grade, she has them branching out, and they're called must-dos. And they have to like branch out and do a little bit more independent work after school. And that's been interesting to see Mason navigate that. He's an 11-year-old boy. So, he tries to get done after school. But what I see really positive is when he's like, hey, I'm done. Bye. And then, I go in and I check the emails and I check his classwork. And I'm like, no, you have must-dos. We're not having meltdowns about it. He's just like, oh yeah, okay, my bad. All right. And he goes and does them, which is huge, right? So we're just seeing a ton of good things, and we're finding a good, like, consistent, like, basis, and we're super happy with it. So kids are doing fantastic, you guys. No, I haven't been filming them a ton. Y'all know the older 3 don't always like to be on camera, and Mason and Em, they're getting into awkward years, and so they don't always want to be on camera, but they'll pop in and out. And I know you guys have grown to love them, and so I want you to have updates and within recency, but I want to respect their autonomy and their right to privacy and their right to, grow up the way, they're comfortable without always having eyes on them. So I think that's really important. And I think that is sometimes missing in the vlog sphere, especially family vlogs, right? Because family vlogs equal seeing the kids. And then we run into exploitation issues, even accusations if that's not what they're doing, because these kids are always on camera. And so I'm trying to balance that and doing the things that I love and respecting, their rights and their autonomy as well. So that's what's going on with us. Of course, I'm going to keep you updated. I'll probably jump on here and do another one of these as soon as I see the gastroenterologist. the dietitian and clinician that I'm working with. They want me back pretty soon here. I have an appointment with them in a month. So hopefully I'm meeting with this other doctor here in the next week or two. So as I learn things, I will update you guys. As always, I want to hear your input. I want to know what you want to see and what you're interested in. And I want to make sure we're doing it in a healthy and accessible way, of course. But I want to make sure I'm giving you guys content and answering questions that you have. So always drop down questions, drop down your suggestions, and like and subscribe and come back. I'll see you soon. Bye.